Hello, my name is Tom O'Leary and I'm working in association with Match Marketing in the rollout of the national and local communications and media campaign of awareness for the local community development committees. These committees play a crucial role in grassroots development, and effective communication at both national and local levels ensures that communities understand their purpose and how to engage with them. The campaign is focused on educating the public about the committee's functions, benefits and opportunities for participation, thereby fostering stronger community involvement and support for local community development initiatives. To facilitate this, we have developed a number of bite-sized training modules for people who are currently members of their LCDC and also new members that will be coming on board the LCDCs going forward. The first of these modules is focused on the background to the formation of the LCDCs and the roles and functions of the LCDCs and its members. So let's get started with the first module. So basically this module is covering an understanding and the background and legislative basis of the LCDCs, provides an overview of the LCDCs, their purpose, structure, and responsibilities. It looks at who is represented on the LCDCs, looks at the key strategies and policies that shape the functions of the LCDCs and also guide the preparation of the local economic and community plans. It also provides an overview of programs the LCDCs are responsible for in each county, and also looks at the LCDC members and what their roles and responsibilities are on the LCDC. So the Irish Government document, Putting People First, an action plan programme for local government, recommended the establishment of local community development committees in each local authority area. This was given legislative effect in 2014 under Local Government Reform Act 2014 Part 6. It was set up based to look at enhancing alignment between community development, local economic development and local government structures. So pre-2014, there was a good bit of fragmentation across the country in relation to funding and service delivery. So a number of organisations were responsible for certain delivery of certain programmes, other organisations were responsible for delivery of other programmes, and there was little cohesion or collaboration, and it was very fragmented, which meant that communities on the ground would struggle in relation to who to go to for supports, for funding, for services, and there was a bit of a gap between the government departments who were coming up with strategies and developing programmes, the organisations responsible for delivering those programs on the ground, and then the communities that were going to benefit from those programs. So the setting up of the LCDC structure was a way of bringing those organisations together, looking at more collaboration, looking at ways that programs and projects could be delivered more successfully on the ground. So it's about creating an alignment of local development and local government functions. The current general policy guidelines for the operation of LCDCs dates from December 2016. Following review of the LCDCs, these new guidelines are due to be in place and published in 2026, so this year. So again, the current structures of the LCDCs are being reviewed, and new guidelines will be published to look at how the LCDCs can actually operate even better over the next years. So under legislation, the LCDCs are comprised of representatives from a range of interests, including the state public sector, so that would be elected members within each county council area, local authority officials, state agencies, non-state or private sector members will come from local development companies. So depending on how many local development companies will be in each county, they would representation on each LCDC. Also, the community sector is represented through the public participation networks, or PPNs, and they will come through either the community voluntary pillar, social inclusion pillar, or environmental pillar. And then you would have farming interests, business interests, trade unions also on board the structured LCDCs in each local area. The chief officer is appointed by the local authority within that county, and the local authority within that county also provides administrative and supports to the LCDC also. So the LCDCs really should reflect an appropriate representational balance between public and private sector interests, while facilitating a broad mix of key local interests as much as possible. So around the LCDC, you would have a number of people representing different organisations, different structures, and representing the community, all working together, collaborating, bringing their own ideas, their own interests, their own opinions, but also looking at how they can bring the knowledge from their sector or from their community to decision-making tables and to the table when it comes to planning, particularly around the local economic and community plan. So the relationship with the local authorities then, so under the 2014 Act, the LCDCs are established as a committee of the council. So while it's technically a committee of the council, the LCDC is independent in the performance of its functions. It means that the LCDC is operating kind of independently of the council in terms of the rollout of the programs and in terms of its operating and its functions. The local authority does provide the chief officer in terms of the chief officer is employed by the local authority supporting the LCDC and also providing administrative staff to support the committee's work. The PPNs are also crucial to the representation on the LCDC. So the PPN representatives have specific duty as they represent the collective views of their PPN and the wider community that they're representing. So in relation to representation on the LCDCs, representatives are drawn from the PPN based on the various thematic networks, so it could be community and voluntary, social inclusion or environmental, or a mix of all three. The local development and community development interests, so local development companies within the each county would have representation on the LCDCs also. So depending on how many local development companies are within each county, they would have representation on the LCDC. Most LCDCs across the country would have some subcommittee structures, which basically allows the LCDC to operate more efficiently, as the LCDCs would have, in most counties, in pretty much every county, would have a heavy workload in terms of number of programs that it is overseeing, and to, I suppose, to make the workings of LCDC more efficient, and also to allow people that are on the LCDCs to kind of focus on areas that have maybe expertise or interests. They have subcommittee structures set up in each county. There could be a social inclusion subcommittee focused purely on the monitoring and delivery of the SICAP program, or the social inclusion action program within each county. The leader rural development committees, which will be formed to handle technical evaluation of grant applications. So they will be responsible for signing off on applications going through the local development companies for the leader program. And then you might have ad hoc task groups formed to look at specific programs that the council are rolling out, the LCDCs might be involved in. And that could be in relation to, say, different funding supports might be there. And also in relation to the drafting of the local economic and community plan, a subgroup of the LCDC may be formed to look at specifically focusing on the drafting of that plan and even the consultation process involved in it. In terms of the LCDC roles, so again, the key thing here is in terms of what is the overall role and the responsibilities and functions of the LCDC. So again, there has been confusion, I suppose, over the years in relation to the formation of different kind of structures like the PPNs, the LCDCs, and other structures within the sector, and people do get confused. So the key role here in relation to the LCDCs is looking at what are the specific roles. So the LCDCs and structures are structurally responsible for coordination, the planning and overseeing of the local and community development funding and strategies at county level. So the key role of the LCDC is to look at the oversight of the implementation of the local economic and community plan. It's also key in relation to fostering collaboration across agencies. So that would be between the council, local development companies, state agencies, community monitoring organizations, service users, and the wider community. It's about promoting meaningful citizen and community engagement in planning and evaluation of the development programs. And the key word here is meaningful. So it's not a case of, again, looking at engagement with the community just for the sake of it or a box ticking exercise. It's really about how the LCDCs and the local authorities, the local development companies in each county can actually work closely and engage with the community in relation to the development of plans, the rollout of those plans, and crucially in terms of the evaluation of those plans and programs at local level. So it's about how we can again bridge that gap between decision makers at a higher level, the organizations that are responsible for implementing these programs and projects at a local level, and then the people on the ground within communities, the volunteers, the residents in areas, the people living in those areas, the kids in those areas, the older people in areas, people with disabilities, etc., that are benefiting or should be benefiting from these projects, these programs, how there's more engagement with them at the beginning from a planning point of view, in the rollout in terms of implementation and the evaluation. It's also one of the key responsibilities of the LCDC is to make sure that the funding that is being I suppose rolled out or being delivered at local level within each county is aligned to the various different strategic priorities at county level under the county development plan, and also national level under the various different national strategies and policies. It's about ensuring effectiveness, consistency, and coordination And also it's key is that there's no duplication. So the LCDC's a crucial role is looking at how we can avoid duplication of publicly funded programs. So again, by people working together, collaborating, networking, discussing projects, looking at what's needed on the ground, what's required on the ground within each county, within each community, looking at who's best positioned to support and deliver, who's best positioned to fund and finance projects and programs on the ground. By having a structure like the LCDCs in place, it should provide more consistency, more effectiveness, more coordination, but key that it avoids a duplication where duplication might otherwise be an issue within the delivery of public services on the ground. So we're bringing a more joined up approach as well to the running of local and community development programs and interventions. So again, it's not a case of, here we are with a program or a project, let's just push it out there, see what happens, but a more joined up approach around how that can be developed better from the beginning, how can it be implemented better as well on the ground. It's also focused on learning and feedback. So a key thing part here is how we can learn from the existing delivery of programs and projects on the ground, how we can make sure that we get the feedback to make sure that we are developing policies that actually have an impact. We are developing programs and projects that have an impact on the ground, and also looking at how we can improve the delivery of those programs and projects also within communities. Again, it's looking at how we can within each county look at identifying opportunities there where there might be additional funding that could be sought for an area, whether that be Exchequer funding, EU funding, or maybe even private funding from other sources. So again, the key role of the LCDC is looking at in terms of through its partners on the LCDC, identifying opportunities to maybe facilitate or leverage funding into the county from other areas, and maybe moving away from kind of over reliance on existing funding structures. So some of the planning and funding, I suppose, funded programs that the LCDCs are responsible for overseeing. As I said, the key function of the LCDC is to look at the consultation process, the planning process, and the implementation process and evaluation of the LECP, so Local Economic and Community Plan. And that's a key function of the LCDCs and one of the key reasons why the LCDCs were formed in the first place. Every LCDC is responsible for the oversight of the Social Inclusion Community Activation Programme, so SICAP programme. The SICAP programme aims to tackle poverty, promoting social inclusion through local engagement. Again, through the LCDCs and the LAGs, the local action groups, the LCDCs have an oversight of the LEADER programme, which are facilitated through the local development companies or partnership companies in each county. And the LCDCs will be signing off on applications or evaluating applications for funding coming through those local development companies. The LEADER programme is specifically set up to support rural development projects under different categories such as enterprise, tourism, community development, environment, etc. And these programs then will be rolled out and fund, and will be the purpose of these programs to fund projects at local level within each county. The LCDC is also responsible for the oversight of the Healthy Ireland Fund, which promotes health and well-being across all communities. In some local authority areas, the LCDCs are also responsible for other funding programs or for overseeing other funding programs such as local enhancement programme. And again, in some counties, subcommittees of the LCDC will be set up to specifically look at the rollout of those programs within each county. But primarily, the LCDCs have responsibility for the LECP, the Local Economic Community Plan, the Social Inclusion Community Activation Programme, the SICAP programme, and the LEADER programme, and the Healthy Ireland Fund. So the LCDC principles. So I suppose a key part of the formation of the LCDC was to make sure that the LCDC was structured in a way that would be of benefit and be effective and would work in consultation with and collaboration with the various different stakeholders and the wider community. And the key principles that are underpinning the work of the LCDC will be inclusiveness, so that everyone is included. There is opportunities for everyone to get involved and to be engaged with in the delivery and the rollout and the evaluation of projects and services and facilities and other programs within each county. Also in relation to participation, so again, it's key that there is opportunities there for people to participate within their local structures, within the community monitoring structures within each county, that they can participate through their PPN, they can participate then through their local organisations, and they have an opportunity to get involved within and I suppose get involved and have a say in the rollout of programs that would benefit them and benefit the wider community. It's more a partnership approach, which is crucial. So the whole basis of the LCDC structures and the rationale behind them was that people, organisations are working in partnership. They're collaborating. They're working together. Looking at how they can work together to benefit the community, to make sure that the funding that is available, the supports that are available, are delivered in an effective way, in an efficient way across each county. And that only can happen when people are working in partnership, working together and collaborating. That the other principle is that the structure is transparent. So again, that the person that's living in a town or a village, the person that's due to be benefiting from the various different initiatives that are being rolled out at county level, that they can see that this is done in a transparent way, that decisions being made with the community interests at heart, that there's no decision being made behind closed doors, that the planning process is open and is transparent, and people can engage in that planning process, and can also engage in the evaluation of those programs as well going forward. And a key part is that the projects that are being developed, the local economic and community plan that's being developed within each county, is based on evidence. So it's evidence-based planning. It's not about, again, a team of people or a committee of people, whether it be departmental level or whether it be local authority level or local development company level, coming up with projects and programs that they believe are good or needed in the community. It's about basing the development of programs, projects, supports, initiatives within each county based on what people need. So it's going out asking people what the needs are, identifying where there's gaps in services, identifying where there's needs and requirements, by talking to people, by engaging with people, and that the plans that are being developed are then based on those needs and are reflecting those needs within each community, and are being directed and targeted more efficiently where those needs are most greatest. So again, as I said, the key part of the LCD, a key role of the LCDC is the development of the local economic and community plan. The local economic and community plan is basically a 6-year plan, or a 6-year, I suppose, blueprint or roadmap, which sets out the objectives and actions needed to support local community and economic development through partnership and coordination with stakeholders over that 6-year period. The LECP is the primary mechanism to bring forward actions arising from national and regional strategies and policies at local level, and delivery must be aligned with an existing national and regional planning. So basically what that means is that the LECP is developed as a plan, as a blueprint for the next 6 years, focusing on what's needed within communities, what target initiatives, what targeted programs, what targeted actions need to be developed, but they also need to be aligned with national policy and regional planning guidelines also. It is a 6-year plan, but these plans need to be flexible, so the annual action plans need to be flexible and fluid enough that they can adapt to changes in the economy, to changes in society, to any kind of shocks we've had over the last number of years, namely COVID, the war in Ukraine, anything like that is not anticipated or it comes from left field, that the plans can be adapted annually through the annual action plans. But the key part of the whole process of the planning process is that it's working with local communities to identify what the needs are at ground level and to make sure that the actions are targeted, but the actions that are also targeted are aligned to national policy and regional planning guidelines, and they match the funding streams and funding programs that are currently available or will be developed in the future. Again, look into policy context. So within the community voluntary sector, within the various different programs for government, within various different funding programs, they're all based and they're all framed by national and local policy. So it's key that the LCDCs, in their role and in their operational program and their functions, they're working in parallel or in alignment to the local policy, which would be under the County Development Plan and the LECP, regional policies around like the regional spatial and economic strategies within each region, and the national frameworks such as the Programme for Government, National Planning Framework, National Action Plan for Social Inclusion or Rural Future, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and also the Climate Action Plan. So people that are familiar with writing grant applications will be familiar with writing in those applications how their projects, how their funding they're looking for is aligned to the various different national policy and is linked into national policy and local policy. The work of the LCDCs and the formation of the local economic community plan must be aligned to national policy, regional policy, and local policy. So again, no one's expecting people to understand and read every single policy from cover to cover, but it's important that people are in a planning role or are within the LCDCs that are implementing or overseeing programs are familiar with what strategies these programs, these initiatives, these funding programs are linked to. So the LCDCs are integral to local government's expanded community functions. It's really important, I suppose, to understand what the role of the LCDC members are. So the key function, as I said, of the LCDCs is the key role is that the people that are involved within the LCDCs, the members of the LCDCs, whether now, if you're a member of an LCDC currently, or if you've been asked to join an LCDC or to be nominated to represent your organisation, your PPN, your state agency, or your community on LCDC, it's important to understand your role. And the role really is around about fostering collaboration, empowering communities, and helping deliver impactful programs at local level. So that's the key crucial part of this. It's critical that the LCDCs are seen as an important structure within a county, that they work with the LCDCs, the work that they're overseeing, the work that they're doing, the collaboration that they're fostering within the LCDC, that's actually having an impact at local level, and that the communities that are benefiting from those initiatives recognise that the LCDCs have a role in that and they're part of that impact. So what's expected of the LCDC members individually? So I suppose the crucial thing really is that it's like any person that's asked to sit on a committee or a subcommittee. You don't want to be there just to kind of fill a seat and to be a name on an attendance sheet or to tick a box and to make up a quorum. It's really important that you feel you can add value to work with the LCDCs. It's really important that you feel that your opinion, your expertise, your experience, your knowledge within your own sector, within your own organisation, within your own day-to-day work, within your volunteering capacity, that's appreciated and is being asked upon when needed at the LCDC meetings. So it's about attending meetings, but contributing at those meetings as well, not just attending to make up the numbers, sitting there for an hour and a half, attending a Zoom call, leaving and say, okay, that job is done for the hour, don't worry about that to the next meeting. It's about contributing. How can I get involved within the meetings? How can I give my input? Now, we had some feedback through our roadshow we did throughout county before Christmas at the end of last year. And a lot of people were asking, I might have experience in specific things we're discussing at the LCDC meeting, so should I still contribute? Yes, if you feel you have expertise or knowledge, or it's part of the work you do on a day-to-day basis, absolutely contribute. If you feel that you can't contribute because you don't have necessarily the experience or knowledge or an understanding of the thing, ask a question, say, okay, I'm not too sure about this, or say, look, I don't have a background in this area, so maybe I can't contribute as much. But certainly identify areas where you can contribute, and certainly contribute, not just yourself, but also your organisation will be contributing as well. So you can bring things back to your PPN. If you're a PPN member, discuss with them, bring it back to your organisation. So if you're a member of a local development company, if you're a staff member or manager in a local development company, if you're a local councillor, bring it back to your own people, to your own staff, your own colleagues, and discuss that within there and say, okay, how can we contribute? How can we get involved? How can we bring our expertise or knowledge to the table here? You should be looking at promoting cross-sector collaboration. It's about really promoting how we can collaborate and work together. And we've seen that happen, in my experience at local level, where organisations, staff members from maybe the HSE, maybe from Department of Social Protection, from leader companies, from local development companies, from business associations, working together in relation to how they can support the community better. So that might be, for example, a local development company working very much closely with their local Chamber Alliance or Chamber of Commerce to see can they promote enterprise within an area, or to promote maybe work experience. So disability organisations, for example, are working with the local Chamber of Commerce to look at maybe work experience for clients and service users within that disability organisation. So that's what I mean by kind of working together and collaborating within the LCDC structure. It's about helping deliver and monitor the LECP. So again, key role of the people sitting on the LCDC is about developing, consulting with and developing and planning for the local economic community plan, also assisting in terms of the delivery of that, and also in relation to monitoring it. To ask the question, is this making a difference? Are we actually achieving our objectives here? Are we getting through our actions? Is there any barriers to us progressing these actions? Looking about how we can engage with funded programs and projects. So again, looking at what programs are out there, what funding's out there, and projects are out there, and see can we engage better with them. And the key part, really, I suppose, the key thing that's expected of the CDC member is about how we can act ethically with the community interest. So it's not about bringing agendas to the table. It's not about bringing our own biases to the table. Of course, we're going, if we're working within a voluntary capacity within our own local community, we are going to be obviously fighting for that community and kind of batting for that community as much as we can. But at the LCDC, agendas, biases, local interests should be left at the door as we're working within the wider community and the wider county interest also. So in conclusion, the key purpose of the LCDCs is to lead, coordinate local community development across the county, align national priorities with local needs and actions, strengthen collaboration, impact and accountability. The structured representation of the LCDCs is a statutory committee of the local authority with balanced membership between public sector, community voluntary sector and social partners. It's got a county-wide remit with local engagement and input. The roles of the LCDC is to set strategic direction and agree priorities, oversee the planning, coordination and delivery of programs, monitor outcomes, value for money and reporting requirements. And finally, the principles on which the LCDCs are based is based on a partnership and shared leadership approach, inclusion, equality and community participation, transparency, evidence-based decision-making and results-focused. This concludes the first module of the National and Local Campaign of Awareness for Local Community Development Committees. Thank you for participating in this module and thank you for supporting your local community.